Well, it's the week of the highly anticipated US Open at LA Country Club. Now, Elk, you and I had to get someone on who's an expert on this course. So we have an expert on LACC and an expert on all things fashion, because we are joined by John O'Donnell, founder of Johnnie-O, the amazing clothing brand, and a member of LACC. So we're getting it straight from you. You're going to know the course better than anyone.
Well, I'm happy to be here. You guys are nice to have me. I've played it a lot, and I'm so lucky to have, played it as much as I have and be a part of it. It's awesome. It's so good. Let's
go back to the very beginning. You went to UCLA, is that right?
I did. So, long time ago.
Local. And,
me too.
and golf's always been a huge passion, obviously.
For sure. I actually grew up in Chicago, but then came out to UCLA, then went back to the Midwest after graduating for about 10 years, and then rerouted back here about 25 years ago. But I started playing, when I was 7 years old. And just, it always, I did the football and basketball and all that stuff, but the golf just always stuck with me. And it was kind of cool because it was a game that you could get better at as you get older. And there aren't a lot of games like that. So it's been a real great passion of mine, and a great way to not only enjoy the game, but meet so many people. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here, meeting you guys if it wasn't for the game. So love it.
Okay, well, we'll talk about the clothing in a little while, but we have to get right into this course because Elk and I have been talking about it. We've been doing our research, we've been digging into it, and obviously this is a real gem of a course. I read that the property itself is valued in the billions, so we are in for a real treat this week. I take it you guys have been counting down to this for such a long time.
I said that to someone. I went over this morning to walk the 9 holes with Kevin Streelman, who's a friend of mine, and just talk about the golf course a little. And that came up, the conversation came up with a few members I saw out there. It was kind of like, well, it's finally here. And I was thinking, God, it must have been 11 years ago that we announced this. And at the time, it felt like 11 years, geez, man, it's going to be 2023, and now it's here and everyone's just going, whoa. So it took a long time, yet all of a sudden it starts closing in and you're like, whoa, it's here. It's on. So it's exciting.
Well, LACC, I haven't played the course since they changed it, John. By the way, Diane, John and I are friends with a mutual friend of ours from Chicago named Peter Vidoliak, who is a lawyer up there. He's a lawyer for Michael Jordan, probably a lawyer for you. He's probably a lawyer for me. He's a guy that we need from time to time. I know you've been the club champion. Is that the regular club champion at LA or senior or both?
Yeah. Hey, come on, man. I've got three titles under my belt. Granted, they were, a dozen years ago. And then I've been chipping away at the senior, and I've lost in the finals a couple of times to a good pal of mine.
So you've only won the regular club. You've only won the regular club champion.
Yeah, I've got a few of those, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me get straight to it, John. What, I'm a big, LA guy, meaning I love to play the golf out there. And George Thomas, of course, built Riviera, where I was lucky enough to do well out there. This doesn't look like a George Thomas course at face value when you first look at it. You look at the flyovers, you look at all these different things. What are we going to see here this week? What are the viewers going to see when they first look at this golf course?
First of all, it's pretty breathtaking. And I was talking to someone about the actual club and the golf course. I mean, the golf course itself, the holes and the routing and all that good stuff, the bunkering, I mean, that's all great. I'm no golf architect, so it's hard for me to kind of talk about that. But what I can talk about is the fact that this thing sits about 3 miles from Rodeo Drive. And you're sitting on the putting green and you're looking out over the Beverly Hilton Hotel and the Hollywood sign in the backdrop and the hills of Hollywood and Beverly Hills. And it is spectacular. It's such a unique setting to have a U.S. Open golf course. I told someone it would be like if they plopped Winged Foot, in the middle of Central Park. It's just that crazy that you're like, how is this place here? But you're going to expect a golf course that's probably not atypical or typical of a U.S. Open golf course. The little I know of U.S. Open golf courses, or at least have read, it was always about real narrow fairways, big long rough, lightning fast greens. We will have fast greens. The fairways are running pretty firm, but our rough out here is Bermuda. So better than I do, Steve, that Bermuda doesn't have to be that long. I mean, I think if they get it about 3 to 3.5 inches, we're fine. And then the players are well aware of it. A lot of the members, I've heard them squawking like, Johnnie-O, they don't have the rough high enough. There's, when they redid it, they took out a bunch of trees. They're going to eat this place up. And I said, okay, we'll sit back and you just watch, or you go play it. Let me see what you do.
Yeah, it appears, and what I'm hearing from my friends that are out there, and I want you to confirm or deny, but it's pretty wide off the tee for a USG Open, the USGA course. However, there's a lot of slope in the fairway, so I'm assuming that's why they gave the players some room to let the ball run out and get the angle. And then on this design, there's a lot of angular bunkers that come into play back up the fairway, so it's advantageous to be on one side or the other. And every guy that I've talked to so far has told me this is a second shot golf course. This is a place you got to stay away from trouble. And it suits guys that really smash it off the tee, because if you get back too far, you can't get in there quite as well as you need to. Mike, the question I'm dying to ask you is, how do you make a score on this course? I know how to make a score on my club. Is it a fast start? Is it a hard? I know it's a hard finish.
I think there are a lot of holes out there that appear to be, when you see the yardage and you see maybe how open a particular fairway might look or appear to be, this is a birdie hole. But I tell you, a lot of what you'd consider birdie holes can turn into double bogey holes so fast. So I think there's going to be and you, again, better than me, but you always know U.S. Opens is kind of flatline, a lot of pars, right? I think there's going to be more eagles, birdies, pars, double bogeys than a usual U.S. Open, because the course is at times tempting to try to take advantage of, but it can really, really bite you. And it's going to be fun to see. And again, I've talked with other members, everyone's so stuck on, how hard can we make it? And I just think that's kind of an outdated theory. As a member, I want the players to enjoy the experience and to be fair. And if 12 under wins it, fine. But the angles into the greens are really important. I talked to Kevin about that today, because some of them are shallow. They will be firm. And getting back to the rough, as when you maybe only have 165 yards left of the par 4, but if it's, in that much rough, it's going to be tough to control the flyer and trying to stop it on the greens. The greens will be firm.
And is it a combination of rough over the greens and no rough, right?
Yeah, there's some of the runoffs, there's some of those. That's
interesting, because that creates more problems for players.
It's a bear of a shot. I would have my putter out every time I was in there. And then the reason I say it's more problems is if you're in the rough off the tee, for everyone listening, and there's big rough around the green, you can go up there and hit a 7-iron and miss the green. It's going to stop right there where it lands in big rough. But at this course, you not only have no rough, but you have some slope, right? It gets away from you. Well, and some slope that can run into a barranca or a hazard. If people don't know what a barranca is, it's kind of a sandy, bushy hazard. And it was we were on the 4th hole today, and there's runoff there. They'll put a pin in the front right corner. And if you miss it a little right, it can creep down and it gains momentum, and you're down in terrible area. So the runoff, they do have a lot of high it's almost like barbed wire fescue-y rough around the bunkering. They do have a lot of that. It's almost you'd almost rather be in the bunker. Well, I'm sure you would. You'd rather be in the bunker. So that you're going to see some people in that stuff that will be, that'll be very challenging. But it's a course that gives them a chance.
I know I asked you this a minute ago. I got lost in my question there, but how do you make a score, John, on this course? The first is a par 5. You can get under there. I know the end is tough. So walk us through the course, like in 30 seconds, how you would shoot a 67 there. Where do you expect to do well?
Well, first of all, you got to make sure you're taking care of, you're going to make pars on the difficult holes. There are some extremely difficult pars out there.
Birdie on one?
Birdie on one, but if you pull it into the left fairway bunker, you got problems. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that is a tee shot. While it's not a driver's course necessarily, you know, if you put it in the rough or something, it becomes a tougher birdie. 2 is an animal par 4. I take 4 all day there and get the heck out of there. 3, guys will be kind of licking their chops there. It's a shorter par 4, but that green is extremely dynamic. 4 is a brutal par 3. But if you hit the middle of the green, you can make some putts. Big if, though. It's not easy. 5.
So if you get to the 5th tee 1 under, you're stoked, right?
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. I think so.
Or even if you get to the 5th tee even, you're happy, right?
Exactly. And that's not to say that some guy can't come out and possibly eagle 1, par 2, make a quick birdie on 3, and be sitting at 300. And 6 is a short par 4, but that's one of those tempting. This has got birdie written all over it. There's wait till you see the 6th hole. Little short dogleg right, but you fly it over the corner. You can get there 3-wood there, but it's shallow, kind of 12 like Augusta.
It's filthy looking on the flyover.
So I think the way you score is the really demanding holes, get your pars and get out of there, and then try to pick off a few birdies. You know what I mean? And like, you know, you stay away from big holes, doubles and triples, and there'll be some out there. Now,
as we're coming down the stretch on Sunday afternoon on Father's Day, will we be looking at pars coming in 16, 17, 18? Very difficult holes. Is that right? Which one of those 3 stand out to you? Give us the last 3 holes.
16 is a tough, long dogleg left where they have the championship tee, but you can make some hay there. It plays fast after the tee ball runs, and it's a little downhill on the second shot. They'll have shorter irons into that, so it's a big green, so they'll be able to make some hay there. 17 is really tough. It's a more demanding tee off. It squeezes you a little visually. There's a barranca right that you don't want to go into. There's fairway bunker left that does you no good, and it's green that runs on a diagonal, and the hole is long. From the back tee, I think it's playing about 520 or something. So, you know, they're going in there with longer irons. 18 is wide open. They did grow the rough in initially on the left side, but they decided to back off that because they had some players showing up, and I think they were starting to squeeze it down the first fairway, and they didn't want that. So they don't want that on 18. They don't want that. So 18, the test on 18 is really going to be the distance, although I say distance, and then you see what these guys do. So you know where I hit it. But, you know, the wind can swirl. I was out there today. We had more wind. The weather out here has been as crazy this entire year, and it was actually blowing at 10, 11 a.m., which it usually doesn't do. So 16, 17, 18, 4 pars is big time.
So we watch the Masters and everything. If someone's got a one-shot lead coming to 16, it's not over. Is that what you're saying?
Oh God, no. Unless they're playing a different golf course.
Okay.
No, I would say don't.
We just want to understand the drama. This is LA. This is Hollywood. There's going to be some drama.
Hollywood, and there could be a Hollywood script to this. And I do think there's a chance someone, not one of the higher profile players, has a chance to do something at this golf course, because I don't see it as a bomber's course, and it is a second shot course, but I do see some clever short games and guys that are, not getting into doubles and triples. I think the field is a lot more open than usual.
Do you?
I do, but again, I don't know. The players know better than I do.
No, well, this is a handicapping show. Whether you that you'll be taped into here, we're not going to ask you for any predictions, but we love it when you come on and tell us that the field's a little wider open. Diane, this is helpful to us. No,
I think. Go ahead, Diane.
No, I was just going to say, all I keep hearing is that length is going to be such an advantage around here this week. And that, yes, it's a second shot course, but length off the tee is going to set the guys up for mega scoring. So it's great that you say that, because, when it comes to a major, we're really focused on such a small segment at the top that, to be able to handicap this potentially being a little wider open is music to our ears.
That's just my opinion. I think the field could open up a little because because it's a little wider open, and there are long. I get this feeling that it's gonna be the pitching, chipping, and putting as every U.S. Open. But I think that I played with Kevin today. It was Streelman, watched him play the golf course, and Kevin's not a bomber. And granted, he'd love to have 7-iron in where he might have 4-iron in. But I think if someone can manage their way around this place, someone could surprise us. So we'll see.
I know Kevin Streelman well, and one of my best friends is his caddy, Michael Bester. You wouldn't know that, because you would have met him today.
I met him today.
Yeah, very good friend of mine. I didn't mention that we were going to talk today because I didn't want to get anything, Yeah. But he gave me some, but he said that it was going to be difficult for Kevin at his length he's almost going to have to play the perfect week. And you're sort of confirming that with short game, and a shorter player is going to have to play very well. You and I grew up together in the same era of golf. I think you're slightly younger than me, with the Tom Kites and the Tom Watsons and different players. And, this tour now, as you know, is dominated by some guys that really move it off the tee. And I think Bester told me that, hey, if you could hit a 300 off the tee in the air, I mean, you're going to change the angles on these holes a lot. And that's true. But let me ask you this, John, before we move to fashion. There's so many guys at the top of this board that are so good, that hit it so far. And I'm speaking about probably a handful, right? I'm talking about Rahm. I'm talking about Scheffler. I'm talking about Koepka. I'm talking about Johnson. And I'm talking about one other, or Rory.
JT, Rory, all of them.
Yeah. And when we handicap tournaments, Diane and I do, we have to figure out that if those guys play well, who can top that?
Yes.
If we get one of those guys that takes off, we've seen it already in the majors this year. Those guys took off in the Masters, they took off in the PGA, and no one could really keep up the pace. Yeah. So we're going to see. Diane, I know you're fashion. I'm into fashion. John, my question is: are we going to see some 80s Defini or some checks come back? Are we going to see anything coming
the
back?
Tattersall, is that what it's called? Tattersall?
Is it?
You would know. Like that. The little gingham pattern stuff. We have such
that was a great era. I don't know. It was the 80s and the 90s on tour was fabulous.
Yeah, that's when you were kind of back doing your U2 Bono imitation, weren't you, Steve? Yeah.
Doing my
we have such a talented team at Johnnie-O. I don't want to spend too much time on that. And these guys are so dialed in on where we're going. And you use the word fashion, but I don't even consider us fashion, as strange as that sounds. It just we're kind of a running mate with guys and soon to be gals in their day-to-day lifestyle, and trying to provide them with something that is comfortable and they feel good about themselves in. And, we've never, if you look at our stuff, never really gotten overly fashion. Golf is an important part of what we do, but it's and there's a lot more to golf. And,
I was sort of referring to, for a while there went into a costume almost. I call it fashion because like what you're wearing or what I'm wearing a cricket shirt with the old Pickering pocket. You're wearing a classic Johnnie-O shirt. I think of this as sort of golf fashion, long placket, etc.
For sure.
But it did cross over into almost a costume, and there were some good brands that did that.
For sure.
Lindbergh was a great. Lindbergh's a great brand.
Lindbergh does great stuff. I mean, I said this to someone before. I've seen so many great lines over the last 20 years come into the market and not survive but they had such great product, but for some reason their brand or their brand messaging didn't connect. And so they didn't make it. But I would walk around the PGA merchandise show and I'd look at stuff and I'd think, oh my God, this is a home run. And 2 years later, they'd be out of business. Yeah. So it's as much marketing as it is the actual product,
Is it the cut too?
John, the cut's important, but you can't please everyone, Steve. Everyone's built differently, long trunks, wide shoulders, big guts, small butts. I mean, it's all, so you got to kind of pick your cut and go with it. And if you miss 20% of the market on this side and 20% of the market on this side, so be it. You're not going to be right for everybody.
Who's your best dressed on tour? Which guys do you like?
Well, we've got the Johnnie-O. We got the Johnnie-O guys out there. We got Kevin Streelman and Sean O'Hare and Aaron Baddeley and Nate Lashley. We got the young.
You've got the young fellow that won the U.S. Amateur from A&M.
Damn, yeah, who was on the Masters.
He was
Sam
great.
Bennett, Sam Bennett. And Sam is out there at the U.S. Open today, and I wish him the best of luck. He's a great kid.
Great kid. We all pull for him.
And get back real quick, and then I'll let you guys. I don't know how long you guys have, but you talk about the Bombers and having the advantage, the angles of the green. I agree with you, but you know what? I got to tell you, and it always is this way, but these greens and the putting and the pitching and chipping will really. You're going to have to have your artistry for this. This is going to be some good short game viewing. I'll tell you that.
Well, listen, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I want your opinion on this guy because he's a UCLA sophomore.
Yes.
Omar Morales.
Yes, I know his coach. He's a wonderful man. I haven't met Omar, but I saw him out there from a distance, but I didn't want to go up there and, hey, I'm a Bruin too. So I just decided for him to stay in his own zone. But I'm really excited to see a Bruin in there. God, I think Stanford, don't they have about 3 or 4 guys playing in it or something?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But I mean, Omar played in the final qualifying and shot 65-65. And he said that LACC, he's played it so many times. So he said that he knows that he's going to feel comfortable. Is he going to feel comfortable playing in a US Open when it actually gets to tea time on Thursday? But at least it's a course that he is familiar with and that he's not going to feel, completely thrown in the deep end.
No doubt about it. The surroundings, being familiar with the surroundings will be, knowing that his dorm room is about a par 6 away, will be comforting. But I'll tell you, it's a golf course right now, like they do to, and Steve knows they do to all the golf courses for US Open. It is not the golf course that us members are playing on Saturday mornings. It's
I know.
different, you know what I mean? But a lot of times members don't. Hey, Johnnie-O, they're going to eat this place up. I mean, I shot 73 yesterday. I said, yeah, I know you did. Yeah.
So John, what will your week look like this week? We'll leave. We'll let you go.
Yeah, good question. I was out there with Kevin this morning. I'm going to meet up with some pals tonight for just an early dinner, and then tomorrow I'm actually working the merchandise tent. I volunteered for a 7-hour shift, so I'm going to get my work on at the Johnnie-O booth of the merchandise tent. And then Wednesday, probably lay low. Thursday is going to be my day where I really go out with some pals and, walk around and watch. And then Friday, we have a huge party. If you guys were in town, I'd sling you a ticket. But
Doliak and I, he was saying, look, if you go, I go, you go. And I have to be out in California starting on the next Tuesday, and I just couldn't swing it with Father's Day. But I'm going to take you up on it another time. We'll play, though. We'll come out and play.
I'd love to have you.
And I'm going to play at Shore Acres because that's my favorite Rayner course. I know you just joined there. Seth Rayner is my favorite designer, and Shore Acres is my favorite Seth Rayner course.
It's amazing. So, I've been out there almost 30 years, Steve. I've been out there almost 30 years. And it seems like yesterday, and it's such a gift. And I get back there often, and I'm going to get you and Pete out there, and we're going to have a blast.
Right.
Well, listen,
we want to thank you for coming on. We try to get some different style of guests here. You're great because you won the club championship there. You've given us some great insights. You've widened the field for us, which is going to send us scrambling for a minute, Diane, because we're going to follow this with our own show, which will be our handicapping show. So anyway,
you guys know more than I, but I just, as you said, we're in Hollywood, and a Hollywood ending would not surprise me. Though I'm thinking maybe last week up in Canada that may have stolen the show with that last putt.
That was great. Yeah. Well, listen, you have a great week.
Nick Taylor was my pick last week. So
no, Diane won last week. Yeah.
Who picks a Canadian when one hasn't won in 69 years?
We both picked. Elk went for Cody Connors, and I took Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor was like 75-1. And because we have a running joke, he just had a baby a few weeks ago, and I'm always about the big life events that calm these guys down.
That's great. Well, it's going to be fun.
Intangibles here.
Yeah, but you guys are nice to have me. I hope I gave you a little insight, but it's fun.
Great.
It's going to be a great week.
Thank you. And we'll look forward to watching on TV.
Good. See you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.